If you're a web designer that wants to make more than $100,000 per year, then this video is for you. In this video, I'm gonna cover everything that you need to know and everything that I did to increase my expertise, bring more value to my clients, up my prices, and get to the point where you can make over $10,000 per month as a web designer. So let's jump into it. So if you're still here, you're a web designer that wants to get paid more. And in particular, you'd like to get to the point where you're making at least 6 figures every single year. Now, regardless of what point you are in your career, whether you're working for an agency, whether you're a freelancer, whether you're still in college, or you're an expert of 15 plus years, it doesn't matter, because in this video I'm going to cover everything that you need to understand to position yourself as an expert that can get paid the big bucks to design websites. Now, the first thing that you need to understand before we go over anything else is that it is absolutely possible to make this kind of money. When I came out of college, a lot of people told me that you can expect to make $60,000, $70,000 per year, and that's probably going to be your ceiling unless you find yourself at a startup or in a really good situation. And so I would like to set the expectation with you that it is absolutely possible to make not only $100,000 per year, but if you do things correctly, there really is no ceiling on what you can make. So in this video, I'm going to share with you everything that you must know in order to get to that point. So the first thing that you need to understand is you're probably not going to make this kind of big money as an employee. Now, if you are an employee, if you're working for an agency or a different business, whatever it is, don't leave yet, because we're going to talk about a lot of other things that are going to help increase your value and increase your pay as a web designer. But the fact of the matter is you have a much higher ceiling as a freelancer or an agency owner. That's just how it is. But with that being said, there is a lot more risk, especially at the start of freelancing or building an agency. And so these are things that you need to weigh and say, for me to make this type of money, am I willing to take the risk to go out on my own and start my own business? And you need to go into this knowing that there's a lot more that goes into being a freelancer or an agency owner than just designing. You're going to have to fill a lot of other roles and wear a lot of other hats to manage your finances and do the sales for your agency and work with clients and be a project manager and figure out your taxes and all of these other things. There's a lot that goes into it. And so you certainly are putting in extra effort in order to position yourself in a place where you can make a lot more money. But with that being said, if you are an employee, it doesn't mean that you have to jump ship right away. You can start to freelance on the side or build an agency or a business on the side and start to work towards that point when you can potentially quit your job and start going full-time as a freelancer to make way more money and kind of be the master of your own destiny. And so remember that as we're going into this video, that it's going to be much, much easier if you are not being held down by a salary that your boss is paying you. So we talked a little bit about risk, and that's probably one of the biggest variables that goes into the amount of money that you're going to make as a freelancer, right? And if there's anything that I've learned from freelancing over the past 3 or 4 years, it's that it requires a lot of risk, a lot of grit, a lot of hard work, and you need to be quick on your feet because things are constantly changing. You are constantly working with different types of projects and different types of clients and looking for new ways to reach new clients and looking for ways to not only design your websites, but deliver them and offer other services to kind of complement your web design services. And there are so many different things that go into this. And so you need to determine, is this something that I'm willing to do? Am I willing to invest the time to become more than just a designer? And if you're willing to do that, then chances are you are already in a position where you can start to make this transition into becoming a high-paid web design expert. And with that comes a lot of other expectations from your clients. And like I mentioned, you're going to need to know more than just design. And I always tell people this on my channel, be more than just a designer, because the sad truth is designers don't get paid very much. And so if you can transition from being a web designer to a website expert or a business growth expert or whatever it is, if you can add additional value beyond just design, you are going to be in a much better place to start charging more and being more sought after as a freelancer or an agency owner. The other thing that you're going to need is a lot of patience, because success isn't going to come overnight. That's just the way that it is. You could take a job as an employee tomorrow and be getting guaranteed pay from day one. And on the other side of that, I know a lot of freelancers that don't make a dime for the first 3 months or 6 months. And again, that goes back to that risk and just being willing to be patient and fully commit to your business, knowing that regardless of how much or little money you make, you're in it for the long haul and you're going to commit every bit of time and energy that is required to build your business to the point where you're making the kind of money that you want to make and that you're making the type of difference that you want to make for your clients. Now, one of the biggest things that I've learned when it comes to not only charging more than your competitors, but being the one that clients want to work with over your competitors, that is being different and offering some sort of different value that makes you unique. And I think too often when we're, as a web design freelancer, we are offering design services and we've got our set packages and we say, yeah, we'll build you a website for $800. And that's just what we do. We're great designers. And you are going to sound like everybody else. And it's going to be really difficult to separate yourself from everybody else and start commanding higher prices and justifying those prices. And so whenever I do consulting calls with web designers or freelancers or agency owners, that's one of the first things that I look into is what are they doing to call attention to their business, and what are they doing to entice prospects to want to work with them. And usually I pull up their website and it looks just the same as everybody else's. It says we do web design services and we offer graphic design or SEO or whatever it is, and it's just really like vanilla, really basic stuff, and it does nothing to set them apart. So you need to think to yourself, what do I do, what do I offer that makes me different than everybody else in this industry? It may be your personality. It may just be that you're really good at connecting with people and people enjoy working with you. It may be that you have some additional skill beyond web design that's going to be kind of that cherry on top when people are looking for a website designer, and you also are somebody that has expertise in copywriting or website conversions or funnels or search engine marketing or whatever it is. If you have kind of those additional skills that are going to set you apart, they're definitely going to pick you over their nephew that builds websites and is in ninth grade and knows how to design, because you're offering way more value, way more expertise. And at the end of the day, typically that's what clients are looking for. They don't really care as much about the design of the website as they do about the performance. And so if you can do anything in that arena of increasing the performance of the sites you build, that is going to be an added value that people are going to see, and they're going to say, wow, Payton is the clear choice because he offers so much additional value beyond just design services. So much of this unique value proposition is going to come down to how it's laid out on your website, and then also how you present it when you're speaking with a potential client. So you need to make this really clear to people that this is what makes me different. This is what makes other people want to work with me. This is what hopefully is going to make you want to work with me. And so do a really good job of laying that out on your website. For me, I do something very simple where rather than just giving them the ability to get a quote for a website, I'm offering a free 30-minute strategy session where I go over their SEO ranking and their website and all these different things to really give them a feel for what they can improve on. And that sets me apart more than any other web designer. And so just think to yourself, what is it that sets me apart above everybody else? And then how can I present that to people on my website, in sales calls, on my social media? If you can be different and stand out in people's minds, it's going to be much, much easier, again, to raise your prices, and it's going to make you the sought after web designer above everybody else because you're different, you're unique, you're providing more value to people, and that's what it takes to be a truly high paid web designer. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is something that absolutely changed my business. It changed my day-to-day operations. It literally changed my entire vision of what I'm going to be doing for the next 50 years as a web designer. And so if you don't get anything else from this video, remember this. Now, I'm going to reference a book that I absolutely love. I've read it like 3 different times. It's called The E-Myth Revisited. Now, this book is just like an incredible asset for you when you're trying to build a business. And one of my favorite things that it talks about is the difference between a technician, a manager, and an entrepreneur. Now, these are 3 different roles that for you as you start as a freelancer, you're going to be filling all of these roles. And it's going to be really important for you to determine which role you are currently filling and then which role you want to be filling long term. So again, these 3 roles are technician, manager, and entrepreneur. Now, the technician is the one that gets things done. In this case, it's the person that is designing the websites. You're putting in the footwork to get these projects done, okay? And that is typically when you start out as a freelancer or an agency owner, you're a technician about 95% of the time. The next role is a manager. You're the person that makes sure things get done. You're very detail oriented. You follow a process. I would say probably beyond that 95% of being a technician, right now you're probably about 4% manager, right? You're making sure that things get done. You're making sure that you hit your deadlines. And then you're going to find yourself at 1% entrepreneur, okay? And an entrepreneur is, again, the person that is forward thinking. You've got the vision. You're looking for new clients, looking for ways to grow your business, looking for people to hire. This is kind of the business mindset, okay? So what you need to think about is, what do I want to be for the next 50 years? Do I want to be a technician that's constantly on the front lines, putting in the footwork to design these websites? And there are a lot of benefits to this. First of which is you have complete control over your business. You have complete control over the quality. And this is what you do best, right? You're a designer first. And so a lot of you are going to want to remain a technician your whole life. If you work as an employee, you are more often than not going to find yourself in the technician role. And at times you'll jump to the manager role. But typically speaking, we work within those two mindsets, okay? So if you're a technician, you're going to be on the front lines, but you're going to be very, very limited with your income or your salary. And the reason is you're selling your time, right? You can only do so many website projects in a week or a month or a year. And so you're going to be very limited with how much you can make, okay? Now, when you jump to the managerial role, you're getting closer to the more profitable parts of running a freelance web design business. And that is, you're starting to think in terms of tasks and how can I get things done. And chances are when you reach this point, you could potentially bring on a new designer to fill that technician role, okay? And if you can do this, you're going to be hopefully at least twice as productive, because you're filling the managerial role, you're making sure that things run smoothly, very detail oriented, making sure that the business moves along. And then you've got somebody in the technician role that is going to be fulfilling these website design services. Now, there's going to be a lot of crossover, and if you're anything like me, you're always going to revert back to wanting to be the technician, right? Because sometimes it's just easiest to do things yourself. But you need to consider, where am I filling my time right now? Am I a technician? Am I a manager? Or am I an entrepreneur? And in this third mindset or this third role, that's where you're truly going to make the most money. And it's going to be really difficult for you to step away from being a technician, to step away from spending all your time designing websites, and become the entrepreneur that starts thinking about how I can grow this business, how I can reach new clients, what type of content I can create to reach new people, how can I increase my prices and charge more and bring more value. These are all things that an entrepreneur thinks about. Now, for me, it wasn't until I started making this transition from 95% technician, 4% manager, and 1% entrepreneur, and I started hiring people to work with me, that I was slowly able to switch to where I was 50% technician and 25% manager and 25% entrepreneur. And at this point in my business, if I was to estimate kind of where I'm at with things, I would say I'm probably 10% technician, maybe 20% manager, and then the rest, 70%, entrepreneur. And when you can make that mindset shift, yes, you're spending a lot of money to hire other people to fill these roles, but I have way more time in the day to find new clients, think of ways to grow my business, increase my prices, bring more value, add additional services. And so for you, you need to think about this and say, is this something that I want to do? Am I the type of person that would like to run this business and hire people and grow beyond just me as a technician? And if you don't want to, that's completely fine. In fact, I believe that you can probably make over $100,000 per year just as a technician. In fact, I was really close to doing that a couple years ago when I was the technician and I had nobody else on my team. But I found that it's much, much easier to reach those higher income levels when you have other people working with you, and then you can focus on those tasks or your priorities when it comes to growing your business, reaching new levels, new benchmarks, and then growing your team around you. And so I would highly encourage you to go read that book. It's so cool. It's great. It's going to help you kind of envision your ideal role moving forward, whether you're an employee or whether you're a freelancer, business owner, it doesn't matter. But really think to yourself, do I want to be a technician? Am I more of a manager? Can I do all three? Would I like to hire people? And it's very possible that maybe you feel like you fill the technician role and you want to find a position where somebody can be your manager and be your entrepreneur. And that's totally fine, because regardless of what role you find yourself in, if you can fill those other roles around you, you're going to have a much better chance of growing beyond what you're doing right now. The next thing that we're going to talk about is diversifying your income as a web designer. Now, this is something that often gets overlooked because as web designers, we think that the only way we can possibly make money is by designing websites for clients, right? Like that's what we do. We find clients, they pay us, we design for them, they tell us what we did wrong and did right, we revise it, we deliver it, we get paid, right? That's what we do. And so what you need to think about is, what other ways can I use my web design expertise and my skills to make money? And there are actually a lot of different ways that you can do this. And so to illustrate this, I'm just going to tell you what I did. I started out as a web designer designing websites, maybe making $4,000 or $5,000 a month in my first year. Felt like I was doing pretty good, but it was exhausting, and I was working client to client, and I was completely dependent on these clients hiring me for work. And I basically was just an employee. I had, my boss was my clients, and I had these deadlines to hit, and that was the only income I had. And so if there was ever a month where I didn't land a new client, we did not get paid, okay? And so this is the risk when you don't diversify your income. And I know that you've probably all heard of that when it comes to investing, right? You want to diversify so you're not too reliant on one income stream. And so when it comes to the other ways that you can make money as a web designer, there are really endless ways to do this. So when it comes to diversifying as a web designer, I would recommend a couple things that are going to help you not distract yourself or pull yourself too far outside of your expertise or what you're doing, but also find other ways to make money, okay? Now, the first of which is adding additional services to your web design services. And I talk about this all the time in my videos. I hated the fact that I was just getting paid one-off website builds, right? I was just making like, $1,000 or $2,000 for a website build, and then that client would disappear and I'd never hear from them again. So instead, what I did is I added SEO as a monthly service. And now my clients, rather than just paying me one time and disappearing, they become monthly clients. And month after month and year after year, they pay me a monthly retainer to offer SEO services. Now, this is a great way to increase your income, make it more consistent, predictable, and then you're not so reliant on those one-time website builds. If I ever have a month where I don't find a new website client, that doesn't matter, because I have this consistent income every single month from my SEO clients, and it keeps me busy, it keeps that income predictable and reliable, and it makes it much easier to sleep at night. The next thing that I would recommend is actually something that I've just recently got into, and that is creating courses. Now, you have an expertise that is unique, and a lot of other people out there want to learn and understand what you do. And so if you can position yourself as an expert, you can start creating courses and teaching other people how to do what you do. Now, in my case, I waited a couple years to do this just because I wasn't sure if I had a lot of doubt, a lot of imposter syndrome. I wasn't sure if I was like expert enough to teach people or sell people a course. But what I found is that as long as you are a step ahead in your understanding or knowledge, a step ahead of those people that are going to buy your course, that is useful knowledge. And if it can save them time and money and mistakes, it's going to be worth it to buy your course or whatever you're selling. And so package up your knowledge and find a group of people that want to know what you know, and then sell that course to them. This is really, really easy. You just find that skill or service or whatever it is that you want to teach. You record yourself in a video or a screen share. You find a group of people that are interested in that, and then you set up a course, whether that's on Teachable or Podia. It doesn't really matter. Those services do everything for you, and before you know it, you could be making a couple extra $100 a month, a couple extra $1,000 a month. It's a great way to have additional income, and it's something that I love because beyond my client work, I love waking up to an extra $1,000 of course sales in the middle of the night. It's just the best feeling, and again, it gives me different ways and different methods to create income for myself, and as I diversify, I'm less reliant on any one income. Along with courses, I like to do a lot of consulting calls where what I'll do is I will offer like weekly consulting calls for a few hundred or a few $1,000s. This is a great way to interact with other people that are interested in what you're doing. Just connect with those people, share your knowledge, let them ask you questions. This is something that you can just set up on your website and offer, an hour call for $200. And this is another great way to have an additional income source and also increase your network of people. And so whether it's courses or consulting or whatever you want to call it, providing resources and knowledge to other people like you is going to be a great way to have additional income. The other thing that you can do is create a YouTube channel and share that knowledge with other people. And you can set up affiliate links, whether that's for the tools you use. If you're using Webflow or Wix or whatever it is, set up an affiliate link with them and encourage people on YouTube to use these tools, show them how they work, and then have an affiliate link where every time somebody starts using it, you can make an extra $50. This isn't something that I spent a whole lot of time on, and I'm only an affiliate for a couple tools that I really, really believe in, but this is something that a lot of people do that can generate a lot of additional income. And so YouTube affiliate links, YouTube ad revenue, again, it may not be as substantial as you would like, but it's a great way to make an extra couple hundred or couple $1,000s per month. And so if you can diversify the ways that you are receiving money from your web design services, it's going to be much easier to sustain your business, to grow your business. And again, if you're anything like me, it's going to make it much easier to sleep at night, and your spouse is going to be much happier because you've got a certain amount of stability and consistency with your income. So now that we've talked about all those other things, there's one more super critical thing that I want to cover with you, and that is increasing your value and increasing your prices. This is something that is really, really difficult for us as web designers. Typically speaking, we don't see ourselves as valuable as we should. And because of this, a lot of times people view our design services as not as valuable. And this is why you run into clients that always say, I don't have that kind of money, or I only have a budget of a couple $100s for a website. And that's because over time, us as designers have shown people that we're not worth the money, that we don't provide that type of value. And so I'm hoping that some of you need to hear this right now. You need to raise your prices. Without a doubt, you need to raise your prices, because the longer that you short yourself on your prices and charge too little for each project, people are going to perceive your value as less. And so increase your prices, start charging more, start asking for more, start providing more value, and then showing and explaining to people the value that you're providing. Because if you can do this, it's going to be this never-ending cycle of you raising your prices and people saying yes, and you looking at yourself and saying, wow, like I'm worth these big prices that I'm commanding. And over time, you're going to increase those more and more and more. And you're going to get to the point where when you used to charge $500 for a website, you're going to be charging $50,000 for a website. And that is an ongoing process of kind of reassuring yourself that you're worth it and that you can command those types of prices, and then you need to deliver. Because if you can do that over time, your perceived value is going to go way, way up, and you're going to get to the point where you have diversified your income, you're charging more, you are hiring out the technician type tasks to somebody else, you're going to become more of a manager and an entrepreneur, and you're going to get to the point where you're going to start making $100,000, $200,000, $400,000 per year. And this is only going to become possible by following the things that we've talked about in this video over time, and putting in the time and the hustle and having grit and doing everything that it takes to grow your business. So if you found any value in this video, be sure to smash that like button down below and subscribe if you're interested in more videos like this, and I will look forward to catching you in the next video.